Marketing is one of the biggest and most lucrative industries in the modern world, and video games have always had a special connection to it unlike any other art form. No other medium has an annual conference dedicated towards it, and a good trailer or marketing campaign can make or break the success of a game. Not every game can have the explosive debut of Peggle 2 though, and due to this fact, misleading marketing is also a lot more common within the industry. Expectations can become raised to such a high standard, either through meddling publishers with dollar signs in their eyes, or overconfident developers expecting their barely finished mess to be ready within a few months' time. Sometimes though, misleading an audience through advertising is used to enhance the final product, and is done with good intentions instead of just trying to make a quick buck. The hype cycles for these things are so easy to manipulate after all, and making an audience buy something they think they know but actually don't can help a game make some incredibly bold statements. I will be spoiling all of these games in this video, so if you don't want to get spoiled, don't turn off the video because I could do with the watch time. Just mute it and read a book or call your mom or something, I don't know. The first game I experienced this with was Hotline Miami 2, a game I was looking forward to ever since it got announced. The developers were quite coy with how much they showed of it before release, and even had a hilarious banned questions sign when demoing the game to the public at PAX. I would say about 1/3 of the game's cast are actually shown in this pre-release footage, focusing mainly on the characters of the fans, the actor, and Jake. The fans and Jake sort of represent what people expected Hotline Miami 2 to be, and are both killed off by the halfway point of the game. Characters that are way more important to the overall plot are barely, if ever, seen in the trailers. And other than for the sake of just avoiding spoilers, I think this was also done to create expectations that would intentionally be shot down. The fans in particular are an allegory for the fans of the first game, and building up 2 to be focused mainly on them, and then brutally removing them from the story, is Dennaton's way of saying, no, this is our game, this is our story, we know what you expected and what you wanted, and this is not it. Bitch. The first piece of marketing for the sequel was actually the first trailer for Hotline Miami 1, where what looked like an early build of the game had a fat guy in a pig mask as the protagonist, instead of the iconic jacket with his Richard mask. As it turns out, this was actually a trailer for the movie that exists within Hotline Miami 2's story, which is based on the events of 1. The trailer even starts off with a based on a true story, which technically isn't wrong in the context of its lore. Whether this was intentional or just an idea that cropped up during the development of 2, it certainly adds to the complex world building of the series. I've got so much to say about this game that I'll definitely make a video about it in the future. I just think it's really cool how they use the marketing of it to make my favourite game of all time even better, and that it really made the multiple twists in the story that much more impactful. Something I can't say about Persona 5. Sometimes in the lead up to a game's release, the developer will try to maintain a sense of mystery, but just completely botch it. One of the main plot hooks in Persona 5 is that you were sold out by one of your companions, and you don't know who among them it could be. That is unless you followed the marketing of the game like I did. For 2 years, this was my most anticipated game of all time, and so when all the main characters get trailers and detailed bios on their website except for one, and they're on the box art, but the developer really doesn't want to talk about them, you know something is sus. Oh my god, did I really just say that? Who could it be? Ryuji? Anne? Or Goro, my face is hidden in all DLC trailers because I'm totally not going to be a party member, right guys? Akechi. This probably could have been fixed by either not showing him having anything to do with being in your team at all, or just acting like he's a regular member of it. Instead, they attempted both, and just put all eyes on him before the game even came out. I think they realised how poorly this was all executed, so in Persona 5 Royal, they didn't even try hiding that Akechi was a bad guy, and instead spoiled his entire extra story arc within the pre-release trailers, because fuck it, who needs any mystery in a 90-hour story-based JRPG? If you can't tell, I'm a bit salty for being spoiled by a company on its own game. Of course, the complete opposite of how Akechi was treated, and the most famous and probably well executed case of misleading marketing for the sake of story and effect, is also one of the most integral to the plot and themes of the game itself. Metal Gear Solid 2 is a masterclass in media manipulation. Playing it by itself is scary enough with how well it predicted the future and how easily information can be used against the greater good, but reading about the build-up and hype to this game, along with watching the making of documentary, makes this one of the most most impressive messages I've ever seen in a video game. Picture this. You're a hip young gamer in the early 2000s. The most anticipated game of the year is in your hands and it looks amazing. The demo is everything you wanted from a sequel to your favorite game of all time, and Snake looks better than ever. Fast forward 2 hours in and suddenly you're playing as some little twink boy with pointless dialogue around every corner. What seems to be a rehash of the first game, and nothing you've seen from trailers or promotional material up to this point is present. Fast forward another 10 hours and you're a changed man. You've seen the future of humanity and have experienced a small version of what's to come. The themes and story of MGS2 have only aged better with time, but at the same time probably had to be played at release to get the true raw feeling of having the rug completely swept from underneath you. You don't ever see Raiden in any of the pre-release footage. You just see Snake being badass and some amazing gameplay. Instead of, what the actual game is like, where you spray Febreze on bombs in between 10-minute monologues on tactical IT deployment, arguing with your girlfriend, and getting shat on by seagulls. When Raiden realizes everything he's been told is a lie, that he's probably not on the side of good, and that he's been tricked into thinking so much only to be betrayed by his superiors and be shown a glimpse of the grim future that awaits the world, it mimics the player's own disappointment and anger towards being given a game they didn't want after having played a snippet of the exact sequel they expected and wanted. It honestly might have damaged the series' reputation permanently too, with MGS2 still being the peak of the series in sales numbers. Was it worth it? Totally. Even if the reception to Raiden, the twists and misleading marketing was harsh at first, it was all for the sake of a message that needed to be said, and has since gained a lot more respect in the industry for not only attempting something on this scale, but pulling it off as well. Actually, while I was editing this video, a Metal Gear Solid 2 fan Twitter started making waves as people began to think it was teasing a remake or remaster of the game, despite the person running it explicitly saying it was just a fun tribute. This didn't stop news websites from twisting these words in order to build more speculation and spread rumours. And honestly, what better way to celebrate the 20th anniversary of this game than by having people profit from propagating lies about it? There's only one other game I've seen with the sheer balls to pull this level of misdirection in their marketing, and it uses this to further its story, message and themes of the game, in a very similar way to the other games I've talked about in this video. And that's... Like Hotline Miami and MGS2, Danganronpa V3 was marketed with a protagonist that gets killed off after the 2-hour mark, but that's only scratching the surface of this rabbit hole. In the last portion of the game, it's revealed that the first 2 Danganronpa games actually exist within V3's universe, that they became so popular they inspired a real-life TV show that is now the most popular piece of media on the planet, brainwashing its contestants into believing they're fictional characters for them to partake in a killing game. It's a bit confusing to think about, especially if you've never played the game, but think of V3's universe as like an alternate timeline of our own, where the Danganronpa games became the ultimate form of entertainment instead of the weeb trash that they are. In V3, you play the 53rd season of this show, and every piece of promotional media leading up to this game is actually in-universe promotion for that season as well. Kibo the robot, being the center of focus for the first teaser image, is actually promoting the unique selling point of this season, where he's controlled by the audience watching it. Kaede, being the main protagonist, was actually planned to be kept by the showrunners, until things went wrong and nobody killed each other. She just happened to be the easiest person to target as a murderer, so she had to be killed off. The magic of V3's promotional material is that everything is hiding in plain sight. Even the major plot twist of the 53rd season is in the title itself. Team Danganronpa, the actual developers, not the in-universe showrunners, said the game was set in a completely different universe to Danganronpa 1 and 2. And they're not wrong, but then as soon as the game starts, it presents itself as a continuation of that story, which in universe it is. Both of these things are telling the truth, but also lying to you at the same time. What's even crazier is comparing this to Persona 5, where Atlus acted so weirdly about Akechi that you knew something was up when there was no need to present him in that manner. In Danganronpa, you expect some crazy ass twists in the game, but they act so plainly about things like the protagonist and its relation to the rest of the series that the player has no real reason to think otherwise. All of this adds to the meta commentary of the game's ending, and its themes of lies and deception. Danganronpa V3, other than the devs saying, "We don't want to make any more of these," is about how lies can be both good and bad, and how fiction is essentially just lying, but at the same time, it doesn't make anything the player experiences any less real. Just like Metal Gear Solid's commentary on media manipulation, and Hotline Miami's on sequels and story as a whole, V3 uses its marketing to really send this point home. In fact, there's so many similarities to Hotline Miami in terms of the developers speaking directly to the player through characters' dialogue, the brutal killing of protagonists, and in-universe promotional material, that it made me wonder if there was any direct inspiration between these two games. Then I came across this Famitsu article where Dennaton and Kodaka speak to each other, talking about each other's games and how they were fans of them, and suddenly everything just fit into place. Honestly, it takes guts to mismarket a game on purpose. You're not only risking backlash from your existing fans, but also negative press from people who have no idea what you're doing. I just eat this shit up though. I think it's cool as hell. I love being surprised at art in this way, and to any developers looking to make a certain point or message with their game that could benefit from this type of promotion, I implore you to take the plunge. Because if you fail, at least it'll make the story of your development a whole lot more interesting. Yo, I hope you enjoyed the video. In between these last two videos, my Majora's Mask one suddenly just like popped off, and I gained like nearly 100 subscribers from it. So if you're from there, thank you for sticking around, and I'm honestly blown away from the feedback I've gotten. If you like these videos, please share them with your friends, and like and comment and subscribe and, you know, all that crap. So yeah, again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.